And away we go. Thank you for tuning in. It's time for Three Guys Before the Game, episode number 540. For those of you that are scoring at home, the title, A Date with Caitlin? Question mark.
I can't. Jeez.
A date.
You fell into that trap too.
With Caitlin? Question mark. If you didn't have the question mark on there, you'd be presumptuous. You put the question mark out there, and you might have a date with Caitlin.
What a bad coach you would be.
Well, it's not what I do.
True.
It's not what I do. I kind of do a little bit.
He can ask the question.
Yeah. I mean,
he's just asking the question.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I mean, because you never throw anything out on your little gab fest that you do to get response. No one's ever accused you of doing that.
I got about 12 of those today. What are you doing? Why don't you do this?
Is that scientific or anecdotal or whatever? Three Guys Before the Game brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. Every single printer in the NCAA tournament that produces the stats, they'll produce those 8 times during the game, during each of the media timeouts each half, and then, so that's 8. All of the printers that are being used at every NCAA tournament site come from Comax Business Systems.
Well, that's unconfirmed, I think.
They've been keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. If they can do all the printers for the NCAA tournament, they certainly could do whatever you need in your office. Plus, they provide network security. They can give you the rundown as to, are you safe, are you not safe from your data being breached. West Virginia's business data, safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. Three Guys brought to us by GoMart. Go for good times, go for GoMart, and go for that GoMart rewards card. Get it, and you can save bunches of money, food, fuel. What else do you need?
Giant Slim Jims.
Yeah, Slim Jims coming in
40-pack of Reese peanut butter cups.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Bottle of water.
16-pound dill pickle.
Gas. Pork rinds.
Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. We'll show you our special coming up. But right now is the best time of the year to get yourself
soda pop.
Greatest selection of the season right now.
Kitchen magnets.
Three Guys also spreads on stats brought to us by Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. It's the Conley CPA Group.
Handicap hot fries.
Oh, there's a classic. There's a classic. Last week I took a couple bags of Cheetos. I tell you what now, that will give you a little bit of that'll give you a challenge getting that cheese off your fingers. I mean, by the time you go through 2 bags, your thumbs.
Well, in fairness, I think when you eat those, you should wipe after every bite. You just were going so fast into the bag, you didn't wipe until the end.
And by then, it's too ingrained.
Yeah.
And about 20 minutes after I got done with those, I had my self-talk that said, you really only needed one of those, and you probably
you had
didn't
2 bags?
Well, sure.
2 small bags.
They were little bags.
Yeah. Okay. Nevertheless.
In fairness, 1 bag is just like, I'm done?
Who are they kidding on that? Like, who eats one little bag?
Yeah,
it's hard.
Normally, I'm on you for those things, but you're right. You had 2 bags, got 6 Cheetos. All due respect to the packagers at Cheetos.
All due respect.
We're wonderful people there at Cheetos, and no question about that. So, on our program today, we preview West Virginia against Princeton in the women's NCAA basketball tournament. We'll talk a little Mountaineer football, just a teeny little bit, because Neil Brown is hosting his pre-spring practice press conference as we record. And they start practice on Monday. And once again this year, they're going in the mornings, practicing in the mornings.
Worked last year.
Worked well last year. They seem to like that a lot. So Neil's going to go through the whole litany of changes that have happened during the offseason, your rosters, your coaches, your player position battles, NIL, transfer portal, all that kind of thing.
What a difference a year makes.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Things can turn around in a year?
Yes.
It's not just once it's going badly, it's going to stay bad forever?
Not necessarily, no.
Things can pop pretty quickly?
Yes, they can.
Oh.
Yeah, they can.
Good lesson in there.
They can. And textual healing's coming up. And the hardest thing that I personally will be faced with during the recording of this episode is that the NCAA tournament has started, and it's going to take me everything to stop doing this.
No, that's
What'd you say?
Brad's already zoned out.
Are we doing a show?
Brad's got the great angle, and so do you, Hoppy. You
Yeah, I got a good
you
angle.
could pretend you're looking at me, and absolutely.
Tell me I'm looking
can't.
at you right now.
Like, I have to look at those guys, but I just want to go,
Really, I'm watching Michigan State and Mississippi
I'm
State.
sorry, are you talking? James Bell on the floor right now.
Jimmy Bell. Always a
about
West
that?
Virginia connection.
Always.
Yeah, although he just tried to hedge on a screen and vacated the lane, and they went right over the top of him.
Yeah.
He might be coming out. Chris Jan saying, okay, that's enough of that.
Things will happen quickly in this tournament. I do believe that you could make a strong argument that it is if you have 5 great days in sports a year, 5, this would be at least 1 at a minimum, and it might take 2 of the 5 spaces. Thursday and Friday, I think.
Give me 2. Yeah, give me 2 on that.
I mean,
Really?
because it's noon, right? And these just started. And you can now go until past midnight tonight before
Yes.
the last game's over. And every game is elimination.
Yeah.
And so everyone's butt is on the line. Things get tight. I thought the last 2 nights in the play-in games,
Great.
2 great games.
Well, two things. One, you're exactly right on the Thursday. Like, you're just giddy. Here's the tournament beginning. And then at midnight, after midnight, when you go to bed and you've seen all these great games, you know what's great?
Tomorrow.
You go, oh, I get to do it again tomorrow.
Yes.
Now, unlike Kercheval, who gets all over basketball teams at Thanksgiving time, you and I love that because you get afternoon weird start times. You play noon.
Right.
He poo-poos that because claims they don't matter. But now, Hop, these matter. This is a win or go
Absolutely.
home, so there's a lot more on the line. So now you're on board.
I'm on board.
You've come on board with
I'm
us
on
now.
board. In fact, I was watching last night. Was it NIT or NCAA? Seton Hall and St.
NIT.
Joe.
That was an NIT game.
But I watched the end of it.
Yeah.
By the way, the camera angle at Seton Hall got a little bit nauseous.
Yeah, not ideal.
Really? At
Oh, my
Seton
God.
Hall?
Not
Oh,
ideal.
it was-
It's weird. I don't know if they're playing in an old gym. It's up top.
But it wasn't a regular floor?
No,
Oh,
I think it was, but it's just like you were way up. I mean, you were.
But they're playing in their small campus gym now. They don't.
Okay.
They don't play in the Meadowlands or whatever that was.
They don't play there anymore?
They're in the. Every time I've seen them this year, they're in their campus gym.
Got like a stage at the back?
Stage, yeah, like curtain comes across.
Oh, jeez. I didn't know that.
But the Hawk was flapping.
Was it flapping?
Was it flapping?
So
You
it's still
take
he's
that.
still in
Yeah,
operation.
it's an operation. But it came down. Seton Hall won it. You know, again, it was a great finish, and that's what Brad wants to just go 12 hours till he's bleary-eyed. I just want. I'll be flicking to see good finishes. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's fine.
I realize you got other things to do.
But you know what it is? It feels like, and you guys are really into it. Kind of feels like a holiday. Like if I'm going to
Yes,
go,
it is.
I'm
It
going to go
is.
up my
It's-
office and do some work, but I'm going to have the games on.
Absolutely right.
Well, here's
It's
the
become
part.
that way.
Here's
Yeah.
the bad part of
And
that.
the brackets make that possible too,
Yeah,
right? There's
yes.
so many more. That's what helps bring even some casuals in, is because you get to fill out your brackets.
Here's the bad part of what you said. You said something there.
What?
You shouldn't be in your office when this is on. This should become 2 national holidays. Thursday and Friday should be national holidays. People shouldn't work. It should be like sponsored by the Chicken Producers Association of America. And they should just have chicken wings and cold beers.
Well,
And that should just be like everyone should just sit around and watch games.
if you listen to Senator Bernie Sanders, you will be off on Thursday and Friday.
Ooh, I don't know what that means, but just move ahead. We don't do politics here.
Okay.
We keep away from that. All right, so
What's on the other channel?
This is going to be dated when people listen to it, so we won't spend a lot of time on these current games. But
BYU.
BYU Duquesne out of Omaha. This is interesting to me. I think BYU can make a little run here.
yes,
Because they
could.
should win today. They should be able to beat Duquesne. It's a wonderful story with Duquesne getting in for the first time in 50 years. But then BYU gets Illinois, assuming Illinois can get through. Illinois, BYU in the second round. I got a little interest in that one.
Mm-hmm. What he was talking about, though, is why are we watching a drama
because
show?
Hop, much like a great bartender in Las Vegas that knows what's coming, I don't just deal with what's right in front of you. There's some planning that goes into being able to handle this day like a true professional. So coming up while we're on the air will be Game 3 on that TV. I can't get up in the middle of the podcast, so I wanted to have it set for you so you could watch the third game. So there's planning involved, not just showing up winging it here. Got a little matrix with the games on. I have it ready for you, so all 3 will be showing you basketball when that comes up. So you got to watch Bewitched or Charmed or whatever this is.
No, that's
Bewitched.
Nice Bewitched reference. That's got to be the Hallmark Channel. That has to. No, that's
TNT.
But it looks like a Hallmark show.
Here's the thing, Hoppy, as we just outlined.
Yeah.
I don't go very wide in my interests, but I go awful deep when it comes to this day. So don't question where the TVs are. They're properly tuned for what's coming.
Fair. By the way, a BYU player just lost a tooth.
For real?
Yeah.
All right. So try not to focus on Bewitched and watch TV 1 and 2 for right
Take
now.
your eyes off of Elizabeth Montgomery.
It's not Bewitched. That's twice you've said Bewitched. Look, it's not Bewitched.
Darren?
It's Charmed. It's Charmed for those of you.
Her mother was a pain in the ass, too. I'll tell you that much.
All right, let's go. What do we got?
So the Mountaineer basketball coaching search, and again, I preface all of this by saying this. This show has probably got a shelf life. It could be over in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
As far as dating things.
Well, Thamel got something.
No, but your flashlight's on your phone.
Oh. Ow.
Yeah. Anyway.
Go ahead. Give the disclaimer.
So the disclaimer on this show is we may reference a play or two during these games when we scream or see something that is out of whack. For example, the kid that just lost his tooth in the BYU game, there's our boy Pat Driscoll.
Fan favorite Pat Driscoll.
Pat Driscoll called the foul against Villanova to put Mike Gansey at the line to send us into the championship game at the end.
Great Mountaineer, honorary Mountaineer.
Right, correct. Anyway, so we may reference things that are like by the time the next couple of days, that kid will have a full root canal and he'll have a replacement tooth in.
And will have made 9 threes in game 2 of the tournament.
Right. But as far as the WVU basketball coaching search goes, okay, so the clock is on, the clock is ticking. And when West Virginia names its new basketball coach is going to be determined by what happens in these games that we're referencing. So when certain people are eliminated, that will expedite West Virginia's search.
Mm-hmm.
If there are certain people that are candidates that continue to win, then it will slow West Virginia's coaching search, which means that it could happen as early as, right, you might start to hear the drums banging, like potentially by this weekend. You might hear, oh, it's going to be this person, and there's a press conference early next week. Or it might go like, and everyone's going to be going like, what the heck's West Virginia doing with this coaching search? Which means that it's probably done, but the coach that they're going to get is still playing. So that could happen as well.
Yeah.
So it could happen earlier or it could be later, but things might get quiet if it gets later. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and also if you want something else to watch for, I mean, you can always watch some of these games and then take a look at the handshake line after and see if Wren is in the back of one of the handshake lines. Would he do that? Maybe what? He might be back there with the contract.
He will not have a credential walking through the handshake line.
He won't?
No.
I mean, he just positions himself last, goes through the line to a coach that maybe has just lost and said, hey, are you ready?
Let me say this.
What?
I would say this, and Wren is extremely aggressive. Yeah. I don't think he'll get in the handshake line. I don't think he would do that.
Okay, fine. I'm watching games tonight with that in mind.
You're not going to see him in the line, I wouldn't think.
No, he'll be off. He'll actually be off on the corner a little bit and pull the guy off to the
well,
side.
Hey,
hand him the term sheet.
Go ahead.
When Michigan came to get John Beilein, they were no more than 3 rows behind me at the press table in West Virginia's victory over Clemson to win the NIT.
Is that right?
Blue suits and the whole deal. They were right behind us, which we've often talked about on this show, at least 3 or 4 times, that it was a classic West Virginia thing. Like, we won a world's championship, and you couldn't celebrate it because, like, you would normally go back to the motel and you'd celebrate, but instead, we're all going like, we won the championship. And we lost John.
Yeah, and so we had to drown our sorrows with a big piece of pie.
Cake.
Very testy. You yelled at the waitress because she wouldn't split the bill for us. It was all kinds of chaos. We just won a championship.
I tell you what, though, here's the context, is that Wren Baker, though, he's working it. I mean, he is working it, okay? It's not like, well, we'll wait till the game's over, then he's on it.
I would say, if you wanted to use a basketball term, Wren is playing press Virginia. He's getting
No
up.
question.
He's getting up in on them.
Yes.
And you have to. You have to, because the guys that you are interested in, and assuming that they're also interested in West Virginia, you don't want them if you got to drag them here, are also the names that other schools are mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what, Brad, we talked about on my coffee clutch, is the more they win,
Yep.
right?
It's a weird dynamic because you'd like a guy when they have success in March Madness, it heightens their profile. So that's always good for the PR hit when you hire.
Right.
But from the mechanics of hiring somebody, there's also a big part of you going, you want to just go ahead and lose this? I kind of hope they lose this one, right? So you're fighting those two things. That's just part of the business, and it's not, quite frankly, it's an unfortunate part of the business for both the school doing the hiring and the coach getting hired. That you can't just solely focus on what's happening at your school. You just can't.
And it's a weird kabuki dance because
Kabuki dance, good.
I like that.
you also don't want to put the coach, and we're trying to break the story along with others, that
Thamel.
that it breaks 1 hour before the person has a game. Then it's hard on the coach, on the other school. It's just that's tough, because then the first question after the game is, are you taking to West Virginia?
Absolutely.
So it's an awkward time.
Absolutely.
And we've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been on the other side of that.
Yeah, it's not a fun time. It's not a fun time when the hyenas are coming in to sniff the carcass. You go like,
But
"This is probably not
my
good."
stance on this, though, as I've said many times, there wasn't anybody reaching down to pick us up when Coach Beeline was gone, right? There ain't anybody feeling sorry for you in that particular case. So the business is what the business is.
And it's been expedited even more. The importance of getting your coach quickly has been expedited even more because the portal is open. And it's just free. It's free game right now as far as players go. You got to get your players. We had Coach Spiker on. He's the basketball coach over there at Drexel and a Morgantown native. We had him on yesterday. And my man is a Tasmanian devil right now, hitting the road all over the place to try to get these kids that have gone into the portal. And he told a couple good stories. We had him on Sportsline last night. That's a evening program that I do.
What time is that on?
Well, most of the time, if you tuned it in, the guests that we have on have already been on your show. So we're kind of like, kind of like a secondhand store, if you don't mind.
Got it.
Anyway, so it's a busy time because when you're talking to coaches right now, and I may have used this analogy on Monday, coaches bring players with them. And that's part of the conversation too.
Sure.
Like, who you bringing with them? Like, you bring in, how many of your guys would come with you? Well, we're going to have, because let's face it, West Virginia's roster could be completely start over, or as big of a number of roster spots that we've ever seen. I don't know who's coming back. I'll tell you a couple I don't want back, but I don't think we're going to mention names. But,
The other thing that happens now, and it's not just because the portal's open, because it'd be happening regardless if the portal is officially open or not, some of these coaches that are going to move have staffs mostly in place that are already portaling, even if they're not divulging to the portalers which school they're headed to. So there's some pre-portal work being done by some coaches that are at a current school that will be leaving for another school.
Wow.
So that's happening right now as well.
Yeah, it's called portalation.
Portalation?
Mm-hmm. People are portalation.
So there's conversations.
And when we had Coach Spiker on, it's craziness, Hoppy. All of the coaches that are still playing, of which there were, 90-plus coaches going into the week, NIT, NCAA, CIT, EIEIO, right? All of those guys are preparing for games, but also doing the portal dance. It's hard. It's hard.
Well, they get paid for it.
I'm not, yes, I don't disagree. There's a lot more difficult things, but I'm just saying you better make really good decisions really quick.
Well, and speaking of good decisions, Wren Baker has so far been a home run. With the women's basketball coach, with the transition in baseball that's going to take place, with Neil Brown things sorting itself out, and now he has this gigantic hire. And one of the arguments for coming to West Virginia is look at the tradition, look at the success you've had with the last three coaches. Now, so what do you want to do? You want to continue that. So this is big for him too. Because I think he'll be here for a while, but I don't think this is his last stop. So this is his resume too.
Well, frankly, these are AD's national championships. They get shine off teams winning, but they make their reputation off these hires.
Right.
And I know that sometimes leads to the winning, but this is game day for ADs. This is what you're in the business for. This is what you want to do. It's not necessarily the day-to-day management on a Tuesday, making sure everybody's okay. It's these moments right here that get your juices flowing. That's what you live to compete for, are these particular moments.
Think you'll beat Thamel?
Doubt it. Trying. Efforting, just like your shirt.
He said this is like a national championship for an AD.
Well, you keep talking me down.
This is like a national championship for an AD. For Ren, this is a big. I mean, this is probably a big one for you.
Wait a minute. Stop.
I mean, this
stop,
is
no,
probably
stop.
this is. I would think this is probably a big one. What?
Yesterday, you were in my office and you were trying to talk me down because I said I'm going to try to be on top of this story, and you were saying don't worry about it. Now you're building me up for the fall. That's what you're doing, Brad. That's what he's doing.
That's absolutely what he's doing. It's a good catch by you.
Thank you.
Let me just say this about that. That is 100% absolutely what I'm doing.
Noted. Good to know. And by the way, if and when Pete Thamel gets a story before me, you will never let me live it down ever.
Tried to line up with Pete. Pete said, "Who? Hoppy? What?"
It doesn't matter. You put it out 30 seconds later, and then we digest.
It
doesn't matter. Stop worrying about it. It doesn't matter.
I had that conversation.
It does not matter.
But he can't get it in his head.
I can't.
Get it in your head.
I had that conversation with him yesterday. It got a little loud in his office. I said, "What? What? Do you get a bonus? Do you get a prize? Like, who cares?"
No, because no one will know. A minute and a half later, no one knows.
Everyone is stealing it from everyone the second that it happens.
It's all about pride.
Well, that's fine. I hope you
Your
get
pride
it.
against my pride.
Listen, I hope you get it. Listen, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do.
Okay.
If Hoppy gets it, and it's clear that he gets it first, and like if it says like if the time slug's like 5:12, Hoppy has it on. Thamel comes in at like 5:14. We're going to do a shirt on episode 800, and it's going to say, "Hoppy got it." That's what we're going to do.
What
Hoppy got it.
Thamel gets it first.
I'd just rather just HTB. We already have the hashtag. Just hang a banner up in here.
Yeah. All right.
I got some Princeton notes.
Good. We're getting ready to do it.
Okay.
We're getting ready to do it.
When's the show start?
We're rolling now.
We're late. We're going to start it here in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Austin, you ready out there? We'll hit record.
So on Bewitched, it was Elizabeth Montgomery. Dick York was the first Darren, and then it went to Dick Sargent. And then Agnes Moorehead, who I besmirched earlier in this program. And Larry Tate was David White.
Yes, he was the boss.
He was the Mr. Mooney of Bewitched, where Mr. Mooney was on
Darren's
Lucille
boss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember their daughter's name?
Tabitha.
Why? How come this crew is so well versed on Bewitched?
Very versatile. You can ask me about Chris Jans, or we can talk Tabitha from Bewitched, whichever you'd like.
We'll just go right to the
Tabitha.
numbers. Here comes the heater.
Her real name, by the way, is Erin Murphy.
Talk about what sports Darren DeFreeze played in high school, or we can talk Bewitched.
Hey, let me tell you something. Tabitha is now 59 years old.
No, she's not.
Yeah.
Is she really?
Yeah. Erin Murphy. She became a television host and a TV correspondent. TV Land, Fox Reality Channel, TVgasm.com, whatever that is, and entertainment.
All right, what was the name of the neighbors across the street? Always,
She was a pain in the
always
rump.
nosy.
Yeah, she was.
What was her
name? Let me see here.
And the husband was always just
It
berating her.
wasn't Gladys Kravitz.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, Mrs. Kravitz.
Yeah, Mrs. Kravitz. She was always nib-nobbing around.
She was.
Not only is this show dated from a time perspective, but we've eliminated about 3/4 of the audience as well.
Tell you what,
Breaking down Bewitched.
Breaking down.
Mrs. Kravitz.
Tabitha was in the 98th percentile.
Mrs. Kravitz has been gone a long time.
I bet, yeah.
She passed in 66.
What?
That's what it says. Passed in 66.
My goodness.
All right, Spreads on Stats brought to us by the Connolly CPA Group. They provide so much value beyond the numbers. They are the provided and the preferred accounting firm of three guys before the game, and they are so much more than the folks that just do taxes. They provide audit services. They can remote monitor in for your accounting for your business. They can provide CFO services remotely as well. It's the Conley CPA Group. Customers and clients throughout the state of West Virginia and surrounding states since 1985. Yes.
Can I go first? I know it spreads on stats, but I just have general stuff.
Hoppy's obvious observations.
Yeah. Who's?
Just laugh at him. You just laughed at him. You literally just laughed.
I mean, you're worried about family. You're obviously worried about me. I'm over here. I got my own music, and you're trying to jump my segment?
Well, because you have really good specific stuff, I just have the obvious stuff. And after you do your stuff, my stuff's going to be irrelevant.
Go ahead.
Kind of feel weird about it now.
Feel good about it, Brad, because I don't think he'll have anything that you have.
Princeton, they have Ellie Mitchell and Caitlin Chen, who've been to the tournament before.
Yeah.
And Mitchell, defensive player in the Ivy League for the third consecutive year. Averages 11 rebounds and 2.5 steals a game. They average 70 points a game, second in the league after Columbia. Shot 46% from the field, tops in the league, while holding teams to 40% shooting, second best in the conference. Good defensive team. Top three-point shooting team in the league, 33%. But, and Brad will have something on this, I'm sure, they gave up 167 three-pointers, a 38% shooting average, which was worst in the league. Second in the league in offensive rebounds, 13 a game. Caitlin Chen led Princeton, averaging 16 points a game. 5'9" senior, was the Ivy League Player of the Year last year. Ellie Mitchell, Caitlin Chen. Keep an eye on them. That's what I got.
Hoppy.
H-O-O.
Hoppy, you done real good.
Thank
done
you.
real good. Senator, if you don't mind, I'm going to
Go ahead and hit the textual healing music, because I didn't know he was going to do 52 stats and take every one of them. So just go to textual healing.
Well, we're just going to give you a quick sting. Hang on. Now, our regularly scheduled Spreads on Stats with the Senator, Brad Howe. Brad, if you could, break that game down for us here.
Let's dive in. Elite offensive rebounders here. So that's going to be one of the matchups to watch is West Virginia at times on the boards, right? Because they don't have great size. So they're going to have to be a very good defensive rebounding team coming up on Saturday. Princeton in the 97th percentile of offensive rebounding. 20% of their points come on second chances. So they make a living off a missed shot, get a rebound, and put it back in. And that's going to be important for a team that's slower paced. That's going to be something we watch. Can West Virginia speed them up, or are they able to control pace? So which team is able to get the other to play like it wants to? It's generally hard to slow down a team that wants to get up on you and go fast. Can West Virginia do that? But if Princeton is missing shots, West Virginia better get on the defensive boards and not allow Princeton in limited opportunities to get those putbacks. Again, 1/5, 1 out of every 5 points comes from a second chance point. Princeton does not turn it over very often. Again, some of that's because lack of possessions or less possessions, but they average just 13 turnovers per game. Now, keep this in mind. 14 steals per game, Hoppy, is what West Virginia's defense creates. Yeah. Just steals. I'm not talking total turnovers. 14 steals. Princeton, just 13 total turnovers. So that's the other part to watch, and that goes along with style of play. Is West Virginia able to make them conform to what you do and turn it over? Why are you giggling?
No, I think there's a great stat in there. What I would love to be able to see is, to your point, how many more turnovers on average does a team commit that has played West Virginia? For example, they've played teams this year where a team might average 13 or 14. Like, what's the variance? What's the average above that West Virginia forces for a team? So what does Princeton's become? Because they're not going to have 13 turnovers, right? It's going to be more than that, you would think, unless West Virginia just completely melts down.
Yeah, what is that number?
Yeah.
Now, West Virginia's opponents average 24 turnovers, but we don't know what that baseline is in each game. But the opponent, think about that. Opponents average 24. Average 24. That's how many turnovers West Virginia's create. Average
it's a bizarre
24.
Number. Yeah.
That's a massive number, and obviously one of the very biggest keys to West Virginia's success this year has been that part of it. Not only does it lead to easy run-out baskets, but it obviously limits the other team. Hoppy, to your point here, and I do have the answer to that, about teams shooting well from three against Princeton, and some of it's defensive philosophy by Carla Berube. They don't necessarily play the pack line defense, but they do make it difficult in the lane and at the rim. what they give up, and you hear this a lot of times from coaches, it's becoming more of a mantra. You've got to live with something.
Yeah.
What are you willing to live with? Princeton's willing to live with you at the three-point line making shots, especially in a neutral setting, right? You go into Carver Hawkeye Arena. Hoppy, as someone that has shot the ball in Carver Hawkeye Arena, I can tell you that at times it's difficult to shoot in there, right?
You shot there?
Huh? Sure.
What, just pick up or?
Basketball camp.
Oh.
Yeah, basketball camp.
When Eldon Miller was there?
No, he was at the University of Northern Iowa. So it was first camp with George Raveling, then with Tom Davis later at the University of Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for asking.
Mm-hmm.
Shot there in the early days of Carver Hawkeye Arena. So but here's the thing, Hop.
Yeah.
That plays into West Virginia's game plan. What's West Virginia like to do?
Yeah.
Likes to shoot threes.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to give us threes, or it's going to be easier to make. Now you got to make them, because the other part we've seen with West Virginia, when that three-point attempt rate gets too high, right? This was kind of the Iowa State philosophy in Ames against West Virginia. We're going to pack it in. You're not going to get shots in the lane. Stand out there at three and see if you can make it. When that three-point attempt rate is up in the high 50s or 60%, you better hope you're making a bunch or you get in trouble, because West Virginia's game is really about getting that attempt rate down in the 40% range and getting some turnovers to create easy baskets. So watch that. You should get some threes against Princeton. What's the rate in which you're taking them, and how many are you hitting? Now, flip over to Princeton on the offensive side. Tony, you'll want to pay attention to this. This is an interesting stat. You're not going to hear this anywhere else. I'm very confident in this one.
You mean Hoppy didn't have this?
Hoppy did not have this, and I don't think you'll hear this on another
Stunned by
podcast
this.
talking
His was rather comprehensive.
women's basketball. Princeton loves, all caps, dribble jumpers.
Really?
They love
Off
dribble
the bounce.
jumpers.
Off the bounce.
In fact, they're top 1% nationally in the amount of possessions with a dribble jump shot. They're effective as well. They're top 12% in making those. 39% from the floor from two when they take those, and 82% of those dribble jumpers are two. So pay special attention to them off the bounce. You're going to have to guard that. Some matchups that we've talked about. I mentioned the West Virginia ability to create steals off that Princeton offense that doesn't turn it over much. Watch that. That leads you directly into points off turnovers. West Virginia is one of the very best in the country, 26 points off turnovers per game. So early on, watch how that's going. Are you getting turnovers, and are those leading to early baskets? Princeton's in the 91st percentile with 19 points per game off turnovers per game. So turnovers and who's converting will tell the story of this, so you've got to keep an eye on that.
Hey, Brad.
Yes.
So you were asking, or Tony posited, that West Virginia turns teams over at a greater rate than they normally do. So I just picked out one game.
Sure.
And it's just one game. But in the West Virginia-Baylor game.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
They blew it up.
West Virginia-Baylor game, Baylor turned the ball over 24 times. Okay. Baylor still won the game, I think, 66-65. Normally, they turn the ball over 18 times.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, that's one example, but six more turnovers. They forced six more turnovers.
And the number might be higher because 18 turnovers in the game is a lot. Like if you're turning over 18 times, that's a lot of turnovers. 24 is just a massively stupid number for an average, which is what West Virginia creates.
You're right, but West Virginia has forced teams into stupid turnovers. Like I'll look at their games, I'll watch their games. I'm thinking like, how many? And these are like, you'd think, well, that was because it was Niagara in November or December. That's why it's happening. But when they got into league play, I mean, there were some league games where they had stupid turnover numbers.
No, correct. What I'm saying to you is Baylor averaging 18 on the season is a high number.
Oh, that is correct. No question
Right?
about that. Yeah. I don't think Coach Mulkey would have let that happen during her watch.
No. All right, one last stat, and then we're done here. Something else to watch. Stop me if you've heard this number before, Hoppy.
Yeah.
Free throw attempt rate matters for the West Virginia women just like it did the men.
Got to get to the line.
So the women don't get there as much as the men, but they're in the 86th percentile with a 33% free throw rate. So again, number of free throws attempted divided by the field goal attempts. Princeton, just 22%. They're in the 7th percentile, and they're in the 0 percentile over their last 5 games. So Princeton likes those dribble jumpers. They don't get to the line a ton. Can West Virginia steal some points at the line? So we're back to officiating style matters. If you're West Virginia, you want this thing to be let go. You want to be able to get in there and slap and dig, and maybe a couple times you hit the arm and the ball pops loose with no call. For a team in Princeton that doesn't get to the line a lot, that's something you want to watch. Officiating style, I think if you're West Virginia, you want them to let them play.
And if they play some form of pack line defense, where it's going to be difficult to get inside. Can West Virginia draw? Can they get the ball into the lane? Can J.J. Quinterly get into the lane? Can Jayla Hemingway get into the paint? Can they get contact?
Jordan Harrison,
can they get contact? That's what has to happen. But if that thing becomes a absolute wall, you're not penetrating like we saw when West Virginia lost at Iowa State the first time, where you just were relegated to just chucking threes. If that happens, then you better be making those threes, because then you're going to put yourself into a problem. If you're not getting to the line and you're not making threes, you got a situation.
Yeah.
Got a situation.
What value do you assign to Princeton's NCAA experience and their top players, veteran players have been there? Anything? Nothing?
Yeah, I think it matters, because I do think this will be one of those venues, because you're at Iowa, which right now is the hotbed in college basketball, and you have great fans and you have knowledgeable fans, and there's going to be a lot of fans in that building that are just going to want to watch college basketball, women's college basketball, not just Caitlin Clark. So you're also going to have a big crowd in front of you. So your ability to handle the crowd in a big moment in the NCAA tournament, I would think that matters a little bit. But mostly once the game begins and is a few minutes old, I don't think that stuff matters as much, because you have the ability at this level to tune the crowd out, and you're just playing at that point.
The easy thing to say is, oh, they're from the Ivy League. They haven't seen anything like this. They don't. But their non-conference schedule was extremely impressive. I mean, they really played a bunch of good teams. However, they haven't recently.
Right.
And so if they've been having easier times through the Ivy League, then maybe West Virginia can jump them early and, maybe get themselves a good start. But that is key. And, of course, to the title of the program, that if West Virginia were to win, then they would have a date with Caitlin Clark. And what would be, okay, think about this a little bit. Well, I guess it would be. She would be the single greatest player that a West Virginia women's team has ever played. And they've played
all those UConn teams.
All those UConn teams.
Maya Moore, Taurasi, Sue Bird.
Right?
You're saying a lot there.
You're saying a lot. Mm-hmm. But she's right there. Because none of them have ever been the leading scorer in the history of women's basketball.
And you talk about a bonkers environment. And when I say, as I'm looking at Caitlin Clark on a State Farm commercial right now,
does she do those for free?
No. There's a nice little check that comes with that.
Oh, okay.
That will be bonkers if they get the opportunity to play them. So I think it's one of those things, if you're West Virginia right now, you're playing with house money, both in this first game and if you're fortunate enough to get into a second game. What an awesome experience to be able to go. Again, the story in college basketball, Hoppy. You love stories?
Yes.
They're the storage. Men, women, doesn't matter. That's the story, and she's the story in Caitlin Clark playing in front of a sold-out Carver Hawkeye Arena. That'll be an awesome experience for this particular team, and something I think we'll draw back on at this time next year. Mm-hmm. You'll talk about some kids that have tournament experience, this staff that has some big-time tournament experience in these moments. So I'm hopeful for this program, not only that they get a win over a very good Princeton team, but have the opportunity on that stage, in that spotlight, to see how they perform.
Your phone system is huge for you if you're a business owner, and Comex Business Systems provides digital phone services from 1 line to 1,000 lines. You can purchase, you can lease, you can rent, whatever works for you. Contact Comex Business Systems at comexwv.com. Three Guys also brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales. You could probably put a digital phone system in one of those boats. Take a look here, folks. This is the Three Guys Special. Now, this would be your Tri-Tune Venture 85. It is a dandy. It's a 2023 Avalon. They sell the Avalon boats. And Avalon made 100% right here in the United States of America, in fact, in Michigan. And they've been doing it for a long, long time. And Avalon is what Lou Wendell sells. And Lou Wendell is the premier pontoon boat dealer in our state. They have right now the largest selection of pontoons and boats and their largest selection of accessories. You name it, they've got it. You could probably find even a couple pair of stuffed dice that you could hang off of the awning there. Right, Brad?
I would agree.
They probably have that. Stuffed dice. Anything you need, they got it. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. That's LouWendellMarineSales.com. They are the premier pontoon boat dealer in the state of West Virginia. Yeah, I've been doing pretty good, though, not looking. Haven't I?
I think it's halftime, isn't it?
First game. BYU's got a heck of a game. Duquesne has come out and is playing. They're aggressive, playing some great defense, physical. BYU missed a lot of shots early, but they're starting to close here a little bit.
Talking about house money, right? Duquesne's already.
No question.
Keith Damrod has already said, I'm retiring at the end of this thing. So they're just like loosey-goosey. Let's go.
And Coach Jim Saddlein doing a great job there.
Norm Nixon. Cy Hugo Green.
B.B. Flannery.
Kenya Hunter. Tom Pipkins.
We had the Atlantic 10 tournament in Morgantown one time.
More than once.
Did all the games.
I know. That was back. Yeah, that was great. That's when people cared.
Yeah.
That's when people cared.
We did all the games.
You didn't do stuff back then. You say, yeah, it's good enough.
No,
you
we
did
did
stuff and
all
you did
the
it
games.
right. Textual Healing is brought to us by episode800.com. That's episode800.com. Go there, and you can take a look at all of the elements that we have from our merchandise, which includes coffee and popcorn, all produced here in the state of West Virginia, and all of our apparel selections. Two of us are wearing apparel today. I've got the Efforting tee on, and Hoppy has the Three Guys quarter zip.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, continuing to try to expand on those West Virginia connections. We had, I'll do this a little bit later. I got to text something. So one of these, I'm going to do something here. Take some pictures.
What are you
here.
doing?
Well, we had a visitor, and I brought her to your office.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so what I'm going to do while you guys sit there and chat, I'm going to send these to Austin.
Brad, how many games will you watch?
Every
game?
I'll see part of every game.
You will?
Yeah. I've got some other things going on, so that's going to limit my viewing a little bit, but I'll see parts of every game.
Okay. So you have how many TVs? Three?
Three.
Three going?
Three.
And
plus maybe the iPad might have to come out when the fourth one's on.
Now you have one of your daughters is a basketball player. Will she come down and hang with you?
Yeah, she's excited.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, she's into it, huh?
And the other one doesn't play but is into it.
Oh,
so
okay.
we'll be interested in it. Yeah, so
Okay,
it'll be
cool.
big on the Howe household.
All right. And you did a bracket?
I did.
Do you want to reveal?
I was super chalky.
Were you?
Super chalky. I
Illinois,
mentioned on your
Purdue.
public affairs program, one of the bracket theories is when you're trying to play and trying to win it, if the larger the pool you're in, the more variance you want. So you want to get out of what everybody's doing, so you pick some more upsets. The smaller pool you're in, you're better off to go chalky. So I tend to ride chalk anyway.
Yeah.
I think UConn's the best team in the country. It is really hard to go back-to-back. I think there's, one team in the last 50 years that's done it. That was Florida with Billy Donovan as a coach. It's really hard to go back-to-back. I think they're super good. That East is loaded. Auburn might be the best team in the country, too. They're up there. That's going to be a matchup that each of them has to get by the next. Iowa State's potentially lurking coming out of Omaha, which is one to watch because that's, in essence, a home game. Iowa State undefeated at Hilton this year. Undefeated in Kansas City, which turned into Hilton South. Now they're in Omaha, which is only 3 hours from campus. That's going to be a tough environment for people to win. But here's a stat for you, Hop. You ready for this?
Yeah.
There has never been a team that has been preseason unranked to then get to the Final Four in the same season.
That's
Iowa State is attempting to do that.
Wow. Can they, or is it a little bit overvalued after just, they had their run in the tournament, obviously. They finished strong in the tournament. Sometimes a team and then there's a bit of a letdown or something happens. Or they could continue to be hot. You don't know.
Well,
you don't know.
You don't know. And again, if you're trying to look ahead, both from a West Virginia perspective and just a Big 12 perspective and from a fun matchup, if Drake wins, if Drake's able to win and Iowa State wins, they will both be squaring off. So you'll have two Iowa teams playing right on the Iowa border and not far from both fan bases. Add in Darren DeFries, coach of Drake. That's obviously one of the guys that's being mentioned for the West Virginia job. Spent 18 years as a Creighton assistant in Omaha, so there's a lot of built-in interest. So if you want just a fun basketball atmosphere, root for Drake and Iowa State to win their first two games, and they'll meet up in Omaha this weekend.
That'd be fantastic. We should go to Iowa. Brad can put us up. Probably have some friends there.
Got friends. Looked into the Iowa City trip.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Would have been fun.
Can't do it?
Can't do it.
Okay.
This spring, ditch the wimpy snacks. Head to Go-Mart. Slim Jims are bigger than your wildest dreams. Savings guaranteed to feel you like a champion. Go-Mart teams up this month with Slim Jim and C4 Energy, and they will unleash a flavor of savings combo that will knock your taste buds right out of the ring, right over the turnbuckle. Head to your local Go-Mart, meet your match for mega flavor, mega savings. Find more details. Get your Go-Mart card, gomart.com. Here we go. From text line. Professor Vinny here. If you remember, my crazy gambling philosophy involves betting against WVU. This way, if they lose, at least I win some money.
Emotional hedge.
So this is what he's doing now. I figured out a way to be even more of a degenerate gambler. I'm going to bet on James Madison, Colorado State, Drake, FAU, and College of Charleston, at least for the opening round. I'll let you all read between the lines on that.
College of Charleston, maybe not need to.
Haven't heard that one.
You've been hearing names?
Names everybody hears.
Mm-hmm.
JMU, Colorado State, Drake,
Mm-hmm.
FAU.
You getting those yourself, or Tham will call you? From the text line.
This is really, guy's trying to do his job. Trying to do my job.
Scopes, Senator.
Wouldn't worry about what he says to you. Wouldn't worry about what Thamel says. You do you.
All right.
You're self-actualized.
I am.
That's what you tell me.
Try to be.
Scopes, Senator, and Dean, 2 observations from the recent boys basketball tournament. First, I saw Scopes and Senator as I was making my way over to watch Ravenswood play Friday night. Unfortunately, I was too far back to yell, "Hey, 2 out of the 3 guys." Second, Hoppy was indeed diligent with his game preparation. Friday night during the game, he looked up to see me, and the basketball was coming right at him. Where he was sitting, he handed it back to the official. Saw a little banter and a laugh between Hop and the referee.
Quick hands. That's one thing
You're not the only one.
That's one thing I enjoy about being that close is talking to the officials. I like that. Don't you like that? Get a little inside, like talk to them.
Sure. Sometimes I try to help them.
Yeah, sometimes we try and tell them what they should see on that monitor.
Try to help. Texter. This is from Nick the Greek. Hi, 3 guys. I was in New York City for work last week, and I stopped by the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. I got to watch some of the Big East tournament and some great games. It might not be apples to apples, but how would you compare the Big 12 tournament to the Big East tournament? As always, thanks for all that you do. See them there?
Good picture.
I would think Nick the Greek's on the left, right? Based on the eyebrow width. I mean, the guy on the left's got some eyebrows. I would think that's a guy.
That's a generalization.
What do you mean? I mean, Greeks and Italians, Hoppy, we're all the same people. It all came. I mean, you go to Ancestor.com. I got Greek in me.
Do you?
Well, sure. Teeny bit. That's where they all came from. They kept pillaging Sicily on there through all the years. I mean, it's all in there.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Nick. I've got a Nick the Greek that lives on my street, too. Very common.
There used to be a Nick's Greek restaurant in Morgantown.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly right.
And a bar, Nick's.
Yeah. My Nick in my neighborhood has a stolen fig tree he brought from Greece. Wraps that thing to death in the winter and keeps it going, and I've eaten the figs off of that tree.
Probably move on to the next text there before you hear my poor guy.
Before customs comes?
Yeah.
Nick's fine. Meanwhile, so comparing the Garden to the Big 12 is this. You'll never replace the buzz and the excitement of New York City because it's New York City. But that old Big East tournament, when West Virginia was a member, I also don't think will ever be able to be replicated with the current Big East tournament. Just the schools are different. It's just different. The Big 12 is fantastic. I mean, they do, and it continues to grow. And if you saw when Iowa State played in the title game last week in the Power Light district there, I mean, it was like a rock concert, really? Shoulder to shoulder. And people are, so there's just, it's fantastic. If you ever get a chance to go to the Big 12, go to the Big 12. West Virginia is going to win games again, and they'll do well in the Big 12 tournament going forward. And it's going to stay in Kansas City now into the 2030s, to 31 or something. They announced that. So I strongly suggest that you go to the Big 12 tournament because it is really, really good.
Well, until all of college athletics blows up and it's down in Greensboro because the NC State group that's in with Wake Forest and the new Big 12 wants it to be down there. So that'll be fun. That'll be a shorter drive for West Virginia fans when that happens. Just go take over the Greensboro Coliseum. Tell those Iowa State fans, sorry you had your day. You're not taking this over. West Virginia fans will go to Greensboro, lead the charge to win their first Big 12 tournament title.
West Virginia has played NCAA tournaments in Greensboro.
And packed it. Coming soon.
Yeah.
Didn't the Lights go out there 1 year in Greensboro?
Yeah, they did.
Playing Missouri. Who was the dude? Anthony Peeler had the Band-Aid? Brad?
No, Peeler was not the Band-Aid guy, I don't think.
Who was the Band-Aid guy?
Good question. Now I got to look that up. Dang it.
No, it wasn't Fennis Dembo.
So, Brad, you're
It was
implying
Wyoming.
with Clemson's lawsuit that the ACC's hanging by a thread and they'll be calling up the Big 12 anytime.
Hard to come to any conclusion other than that. There are teams, they are scrambling there.
Yeah. Well, let's go. Finally, we should say, but West Virginia, they know, so the ACC is going to be looking for a home, and West Virginia's president, Gordon Gee, would welcome that, but he could also say to North Carolina and Duke, well,
Yeah, except North Carolina is the one that has more options than anybody. They're going to be the first pick in that draft.
Because of basketball?
Yeah, so, the esteemed academics, so I would the Big Ten will want that academic profile that they're a quality academic institution that's never had an academic scandal. So the Big Ten only takes high integrity academic institutions. So it's not just about sports, Hoppy. It's academic reputation that is driven by North Carolina.
Wouldn't you like to say those schools, though? Well, we'll get back to it. We'll see. Not sure.
Derek Chivas.
Derek Chivas had the Band-Aid.
Anthony Peeler.
What Band-Aid you talking about?
He would wear a Band-Aid, but he didn't need it.
Different parts of his body.
He would just put a Band-Aid on. So every time you saw him, he had a Band-Aid on. That was kind of like Zane Shaw for the Mountaineers. He was the first dude that he had a T-shirt underneath his jersey. He was the first guy I ever saw cut one sleeve off.
Ooh, that was ahead of the day.
So he had one sleeve off the T-shirt and one sleeve long on the T-shirt. Zane Shaw, Chester, Pennsylvania. Texter, as I listened to episode 539, wearing one of my two Always a West Virginia Connection sweatshirts, you mentioned the book, My Losing Season. Mm-hmm. If you weren't aware, in the book, Pat Conroy wrote of going to basketball camp where none other than Jerry West was a camp counselor.
Camp Wahoo?
Always a Connection, Wayne in Clarksburg. Wayne, not only do we know that, Hoppy has referred to that book on so many occasions. He perhaps now knows the book better than Conroy.
He's passed away, but
Gary Mack loved that Camp Wahoo. Gary McPherson,
yeah,
right, former Mountaineer assistant.
Does he talk about Weenie Miller in there at all?
I don't remember. I gotta get you that book, Brad. It's been a long time since I read it.
Texter, this is Stephen from the Waterfront Marriott checking in. As Tony and Brad speculated on a previous episode, I am indeed one of the guys that talked with you two and Sean McDonough at the hotel breakfast area before our Pitt football game.
Sean bought breakfast.
If you recall, my friend Casey was there with me from Southern California, and we met at WVU, a fine state land-grant institution. A couple of weeks ago, I visited him out there, and I have a West Virginia story for you. Casey works for the UC Irvine Athletic Department. Anteaters. And had to work their last men's basketball game, so I went with him to watch the Anteaters in action. We're at the game. A guy yells out to me to compliment me on my WVU hat. I didn't get a good look, but he approached me shortly after. I was floored to see that it was a guy that is in my golf club in Wheeling. He's friends with people who have a son on the UC Irvine team.
Mm-hmm. Of course he is.
And he was out there visiting.
Mm-hmm.
So even at a UC Irvine Anteaters game, there's always a West Virginia connection. And here now is a picture of Casey and I to jog your memory. We're at the winery in his hometown. So how do you say this, Hoppy? Temecula? Temecula?
I don't know. I'll check.
I just probably butchered the living hell out of it, and someone who knows what it is laughing at me.
Checking.
Probably Casey.
Probably. Temecula.
Classic. The ever popular Wheeling to UC Irvine route.
Texter had to go to Ahia for a few work days, but it worked out because I was able to make it to the NCAA tournament in Dayton.
Oh, nice.
Really cool experience. I was able to bring the Mountaineers to March Madness with my old gold and blue hoodie. There he is. Had the side
Good
seats there.
Good seats.
Formerly Joey in Princeton, now Joey in Athens. So he's moved locations, but he hasn't changed his first name.
Yeah. See, Athens, Ohio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, not Greece.
Or Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Texter, adding to the current trending subtopic of pluralizing store names, perhaps the most egregious example is when people unilaterally say Sheetses. That's just too many S's happening, and it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. Dave and Kaiser.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. Back on Monday.
Hold on one sec. Hopsy, Third TV, now engaged with another game. Thank you. Bewitched is off.
Temecula.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, got it now. Temecula. So they weren't laughing at us.
Temecula, California.
Back on Monday, after we recorded this show.
In Spanish, it means where the sun breaks through the mist.
Temecula. Back on Monday, after we got done recording the show, we had a visitor to our facility, and her name is Jennifer Friend. She had written a while back when we started talking about lamb, talking about sheep, and she stopped over and brought us some of the lamb from the farm that they raise. And I said, can you give me some details on these lambs that they have, Braxton County? And she wrote to me and said, we've had sheep since 1999 when she was 3 years old, and said she wanted to show us sheep. And I still have descendants of my first sheep, Pepper, in the flock today. You can start showing some of those pictures, Austin.
Oh.
Since then, see that, Brad?
No, I'm not looking.
Look over there.
No. If it's something you can eat, I don't want to see it.
We've also marketed most of our lambs to 4-H and FFA members, who then exhibit them at market lambs at county fairs in the state. We also sell a few as breeding sheep that go into other flocks. The lamb you received was actually one we bought back from a 4-H'er that exhibited him at the Braxton County Fair back in August. Look at those beautiful sheep. After growing up in the 4-H and FFA, I feel that it's so important to give back to the organizations that made me who I am today. Showing and selling livestock at the fair not only helped me pay my way through college, but I gained lifelong friends and memories. Not only do we want to provide positive experiences to agricultural youth, we want to provide a high-quality product for the consumers who will be eating our lamb. We've been buying lambs back at the fair as a way to ensure that our product for us, that it's a product for us to be proud of. And after the last few we've bought, we are certain that our lamb is mild in flavor, tender, and a good eating experience. Exactly what I was looking for. Our farm name is Friend Sheep, Suffolks, and Club Lambs. We don't have a website, but we do have a Facebook page. So there you go, Jennifer. Thank you very much. Yeah.
It was nice meeting her. Pleasant conversation. I should have asked her what tribe she was in the 4-H.
Excuse me?
In the 4-H, you have tribes that you belong to.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was a Mingo, just FYI.
Thank you. Last one here. Our buddy Joe Mock. He's become the stepdad of former Mountaineer Eric Stevenson.
Mm-hmm.
Since it came up briefly on episode 538, I want to give you guys a status report on our beloved Coach Stevenson. I'm afraid April, who's his wife, and I are no longer foster parents for Eric because, yes, indeed, the Spurs traded him to the Texas Legends for a pair of G League picks. I didn't even know such a trade was possible, but it's just one of the many oddities that exist in the zany G League. It was for the best because the Spurs were using him less and less, a development he alluded to when he was on your podcast. He's now played 6 games with the Legends, scoring 0, 7, 16, 17, 9, and 17. His playing time has increased in each game. Most recent game, his best outing, 32 minutes. He added 8 assists to his 17 markers. Well, get this, starting as the point guard in a 20-point win. I took the attached photo of Eric watching his three-pointer swish. See Coach Stevenson there, balls in the net?
Yeah.
Follow through.
Yeah.
That's when they were playing Austin, his old team. Unless the Legends happen to play in Austin in the playoffs, I guess we won't see him again this year. We're already missing him, being his adoptive parents. Eric is an exceptionally thoughtful and likable young man, and we've loved getting to know him. Yeah, kids do grow up fast these days.
He's been adopted by the Mountaineer basketball team, by Mountaineer Nation, by the folks in Texas, by us. I mean, he's like he's very affable. He's an interesting study in that he comes across as having a hard, like tough ass outside, but really he's just a great kid. But he needs to have, and I think he talks himself into that tough ass guy. Yeah, he needs an edge
in order to
plays,
compete.
But he's one of his, as we've mentioned, this is one of the great examples of the portal's not all bad. Keep reiterating that. There's some really good stories that come out of the portal. He is one. He fit perfectly at this program in the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what will the portal bear for West Virginia? It's going to be an extremely busy off season.
Mm-hmm.
These next several weeks, I mean, you're going to have coach named, coach introduced, coach going to get players. You're going to have roster movement. Before you know it, you're back on the floor. You're going to get your opportunity to, okay, now we're going to start. Now the newcomers come. And then you're going to go to Italy in August, right? So we're in the third month, so that is 5 months away. You're going to be in Italy.
You should go on that trip.
Debating. It's right during the middle of, they're going the last day of July until like August 10th. Football's already started.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, so it's going to happen really fast, man.
Yeah.
And then we got spring ball.
We got
Mountaineer baseball. They're up there at Oklahoma this weekend. They got a 3-game set.
Beat Marshall like they stole something.
They did. Yeah, they did. We got Marshall women. This will be dated by the time Marshall women. Kim Stevens, friend of the program.
Mm-hmm.
So
a lot of stuff going on. So people say it's the off season. It's really not.
It's always season.
Yeah, it is. Things change.
There's a week in, there might be a week in July where there's nothing happening.
July's quiet, and then off we go to the races. All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you very much. Austin Wright has been our producer. And so Monday, again, a lot of stuff's going to happen between now and Monday.
I got a meeting at 2:00 on Monday.
Great. You can stay a little bit, and then you can take, we're done already before
This is a good chance to encourage people to follow, subscribe, whether you watch on YouTube or iTunes, because the schedule could get fluid here.
Oh, that's right. Emergency podcast. We're in agreement that we could potentially do, we'll be ready to go, like doctors on call?
Yes. We're on call.
Okay.
So there may be emergencies mixed in. We may back up regularly scheduled.
You're saying subscribe so they don't miss.
So so you don't have to worry about what day it is. Just when the new one comes out, it'll hit your feed if you're subscribed or followed us.
That sends you a notification?
It does.
Okay. Probably going to put a sound next to that when it comes out?
Probably could if you want to.
Doot, doot.
Or whatever sound you want.
Emergency pod. Okay, good.
Or again, if there's a wind of something happening, we might move from a Monday to a Tuesday to take advantage of that news.
I'd say whenever.
That was a hypothetical, by the way.
Well, whenever it happens, you got to go right away.
Right.
Regardless.
Well, yeah, we'll be ready.
All right.
I think we've built a culture of being able to go quickly.
So you're saying it's important to know.
We've lived here on Sundays this past summer. I think we're ready to go. We're like those firemen you met in Charleston.
Yeah, they're
that
ready.
Alarm rings. We're coming down that pole.
But it's important to know then when the coach's name. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, don't screw it up. Will Hoppy? The question is this: who will win, Hoppy or Thamel?
Who cares?
Hoppy does. You want the answer? Hoppy does.
Knock it off. Who cares?
All right,
Brad's he's tuned out. He's into the games. He's tuned out.
Yeah. You had worse attention than I did. 3 Guys Before the Game has been brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By GoMart, go for good times, go for GoMart. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans, the premier pontoon boat dealer in our state. Selling family fun, selection's great. Open on Sunday as well, in addition to Monday through Saturday. Check them out. And by the Conley CPA Group, who provides us with spreads on stats. Conley CPA, providing value beyond the numbers. Thanks for being with us. Stay safe. Stay well. We'll talk to you when stuff happens. See you.